Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. So I've received a lot of emails from folks over the last week who are having trouble with Empower. Empower is a free, financial tool, financial dashboard. Allows you to track your cash flow, your budget. It allows you to track your investments, your asset allocation, your investing fees, and it's got a good retirement planner. So it's sort of an all-in-one tool. It's the Swiss pocket knife of financial tools. But they did a recent migration that I'll talk about, and a lot of folks couldn't sign in. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to tell you what's going on, where it stands, what the issue is, why it happened. And then I'm going to actually talk about some alternatives to Empower, and frankly, why it's so difficult to replace Empower as a tool. It's really difficult to find a good alternative to Empower, but I'll talk about some of them for you. So let's dive right in. Here's Empower. And if we were to log in, I have a demo account that I'm going to show you, but if we were to log in, you'd say, oh my goodness, we've got these choices. What do we do? We've got, look at this. Let me accept the cookies so that goes away. We've got 5 different logins. It's like, what's going on here? For those of you like myself that use the what they call the personal dashboard, this is where you would log in. But you can see they have a bunch of other tools because Empower is a 401k provider, workplace retirement account provider. So it's not just, whoops, sorry about that. Try that again. There we go. It's not just, an Empower personal dashboard. But here's what happens. If we click this login, it comes here, and this is my demo account. And if I try to log in, you see I get this notice that says, hey, no, you got to go to somewhere new to log in. And so we would go here. And now this is sort of the new login. So what is that all about? What's going on there? So what Empower did, and I knew this was happening, they were kind enough to send me an email. They are an affiliate, meaning I make a fee if you sign up for Empower at no cost to you. They're not a sponsor, though. They've not sponsored this video or this channel, and they don't even know I'm recording this video. But in any event, because of that, they sent me some advanced notices. Just said, hey, we've got all these different logins, all these different apps, and we're going to try to bring them all together into one login. Okay, fair enough. That actually sounds like a good thing to do. But when they did that, folks had trouble logging in, and it was for a variety of different reasons. Some had apparently signed up with a fake email or a fake cell phone number. I'm not even sure how you do that. So they were having all kinds of trouble. I think those that have an Empower 401k, they had their own set of issues logging in and getting all of their data in one place. And then some folks said, they had trouble using the mobile app, which I'll show you in a minute. Couldn't get that to work. Now, so when I got all these emails, I logged in. Let me just show you. I'm going to log in, and it's going to take me just a second because of this new login screen. But I showed it to you in a second. Let me just put my password in, and I'll show you my screen. So here we go. There's my password. Hopefully it works. Oh, it wants to text my phone. So this is 2-factor authentication. Very nice. I'll actually show you this. So it's sending me a text to my phone, and I've got it. Okay. And you say, Rob, don't show that number. Yeah, it's a one-time password. So by the time this video is published, that number 3222 is meaningless. So here we go. This is, again, I'm logging into a demo account. This is not my actual account. And there you go. We're going to look at a couple of things in Empower, but everything is working fine. So now, when I did that about 4 or 5 days ago, I actually ran into trouble. I could log in. I didn't have the I can't log in problem, but I connected a couple of accounts. I connected a credit card account, which I don't normally do for the demo account, but I wanted to make sure everything was working. It's still actually connected. And I connected a Robinhood investment account where I invest our credit card rewards. Again, I just wanted to see if everything worked. Now, I've since disconnected the account, but what happened was it wasn't pulling in the data from either the investment account or the credit card account. It was just spinning. It was trying to pull in the data, and, wait a minute, something's not working. And so I reached out to Empower, but what I ultimately did was just said, you know what, I'm going to give it a day. And I signed back in the next day, and everything worked just fine. In fact, I can show you on the screen. I've got credit cards here. These are actually my credit cards, but trust me, not that there's anything to see there, but all the data is there. in terms of investment accounts now, these are our manual accounts that I've entered for this demo. But as you can see, it's all there. This just happens to be the holdings. I created what's called a 3-fund portfolio in this demo account. All of it's there. All of the features are there. I've had some folks email me and say some of the features are missing. One that comes up is the investment fee analyzer, but it's under planning. I tried to remember, did they move it? I think it was always here. So I'm not sure, but some folks were saying it's not there, but no, there it is. So everything is there. But nevertheless, a lot of folks on Reddit were complaining, some saying they're going to leave Empower. But what I've now noticed over time, for the most part, people are saying, yeah, it's working now. So they had some hiccups with this migration. I don't know what caused them. I will tell you there were no new features added or taken away. That wasn't the purpose of this migration. It was to get all the accounts in one place. And so for the most part, that seems to be working. I did get someone email me today, and I'm going to show you this, not the email, but they said, hey, I can't get the mobile app to work. So I'm going to show you the mobile app, and I'm going to log in Face ID. They were having trouble with the biometrics, the Face ID. And when I log in now, this is what I see. And it wants to know if I want to meet with an advisor, but I can just navigate away from that and go to, say, net worth. So you're looking at the exact same account that you see here. This is the website. I'm in Chrome, and there it is. You can see the net worth is just over 2.1 million. We come back to my cell phone. It's the same account, 2.1 million. All of the features are there. It's working fine. So I think give it some time, even if you're still having issues. I think they're going to get resolved over time. I will tell you, they do plan some new features in 2026. Next year, obviously, we'll look at those when they happen. But this migration wasn't to add or remove features. It was just to change the way you log in. So hopefully, given enough time, it will work. But still, enough people were frustrated. They said, Rob, what are some of the better alternatives? And I actually wrote an article yesterday on the blog about it. It turns out it's very difficult to find a really good alternative to personal capital. That may surprise some of you because you say, well, wait a minute, Rob, don't you talk about Monarch Money and Simplifi and Origin and Projection Lab and Boldin? Yeah, all great tools for their purpose. But here's the challenge. Number one, Empower's free. That's the first challenge. Before you had mint.com, it was free, but it's gone. So there aren't really great free alternatives. That's the first thing. But even if you said, well, that's okay, Rob, I'll pay a little bit of money. Here's the second problem. Empower does 3 things really well. It has a solid budgeting tool. We'll talk about it in a second. It has a great investment tracking and investment analysis tool. And it has a really good retirement planner. It's really 3 tools in one. So I call it the Swiss Army pocket knife of financial tools. And there is no other tool like it that in my view, that has all 3 of those features in a really good offering. It doesn't exist. Here's the issue. There are plenty of great budgeting tools. In fact, there are tools out there that offer budgeting features that are better than Empower. With Empower's budgeting tool, it's really more of an expense tracker. It tracks your cash flow. It does a great job, by the way. It'll automatically categorize your spending, assuming you connect your checking account, let's say, and your credit cards. You can change the category if you want. You can add tags. But it's not a forward-looking budget. You can't say, okay, for the next month, I want to spend, $300 eating out and have a place to actually put that in there and then track your spending against that budget. That's not how Empower works. And if you want that kind of budget, well, then frankly, just about any other budgeting tool will do that, but not Empower. So if I were going to rank it just based on budgeting, I'd give it a B, a solid B. Are there better tools? Sure. We'll look at a couple of them in just a second, but it's still a solid cash flow expense tracking tool. On the investment side, and I can actually show you this since we have data in this account, we can go to investing and, we can look at, let's say, allocation. I don't think there is a better asset allocation tool available today. I think there are some good ones. We'll talk about them. But this one is excellent. I like the way the user interface works. Let me see if I can make it a little bigger. You can click through and dive down into, in this case, U.S. stocks. It's going to show you the different subcategories, sub-asset classes, if you will. If you drill down further, it's going to actually show you the tickers of each of your investments that represent the different aspects, in this case, large cap core. Really excellent. Of course, you can see your holdings. A lot of apps do that. You can see your performance. A lot of apps do that. You can select which accounts you want to include in here. A lot of apps do that. But this allocation, this really is not widely available, at least with apps that also include budgeting and retirement planning. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, their fee analyzer is an excellent tool. And I know of no other tool that does something similar to this. Probably maybe the closest might be Morningstar Investor. The problem with that tool is you can't just connect your accounts and get performance data, a big limitation on Morningstar Investor that I hope they fix. So that's the investment tracking part of it. And then in terms of retirement planning, they have a really good retirement planner. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the vast majority of people could use this and not even use Projection Lab or Boldin. By the way, two tools that I think are fantastic, as you know. I think they're great tools. And they can do things that Empower can't do. You can do Roth conversion analysis. You can do Social Security claiming analysis. You get a lot more tax analysis with those types of tools. By the way, it would be true also with Prelana, Maxify, and other tools as well. But here's the deal. If you want to know, hey, can I retire or not? Am I on track? That's really what most people, I think, want from the retirement planning tool. You're going to get that from Empower, and it gives you a lot of good features. You can compare scenarios. I won't walk through it in this video, but you can compare scenarios with different assumptions. You can add different income events, right? You can track your Social Security. You can track an annuity. You can model a sale of a property or downsizing, which is common in retirement, and you can also add other spending goals, right? So it really has, I think, 90% of the tools that one could possibly want. And you could use other tools to do Roth conversion analysis, like Vanguard's Better tool, or for Social Security, Open Social Security. I'll link to both of those below the video. So I really think, Empower, is it best in class in each of these categories? Maybe not, probably not for budgeting and retirement planning, maybe for investment tracking, really good. But it is a solid tool in all three of these categories. And that's the problem. You cannot find that in another tool. If there's another tool out there that does it, please let me know. I will absolutely check it out and review it. I just can't find one. So then you say, okay, Rob, well, if you had to come up with an alternative, what would you do? Well, you'd probably have to use more than one tool, and you'd definitely have to pay for them. So that's just the reality. But let me kind of show you the landscape. So we'll start with Simplifi. Let me make sure I'm logged in here. This is a demo account. So there's not a ton of data here, but there's enough for us to take a look at it. So just some background. Simplifi is made by Quicken. I'll go to the dashboard in this demo account. And you guys probably remember Quicken Classic. I was using it in the 80s, I think. Was it back that far when you got it on a CD? Something like that. Maybe it was a 3.5-inch floppy drive. Are you old enough to remember those? And I guess the 3.5s weren't really floppy, were they? Anyway, so the way it works now is Quicken Classic is still the old software-based tools, and there's a couple different versions of them. So that's sort of one product. And then they have what they call Simplifi, Quicken Simplifi. That's what we're looking at. And it's a web-based tool, just like Monarch Money or Rocket Money or the others. And it does, in theory, offer budgeting, investment tracking, and retirement planning. Now, on the budgeting side, it's every bit as good and better than Empower. Remember, Empower is more of a cash flow expense tracking tool. With Simplifi, as with most what I would call budgeting apps, you can actually create a forward-looking budget. You can track your credit score. You can't do that with Empower. It's got ability to track bills and income and track your subscriptions, your recurring expenses that Empower can't really do. So here, you'd give the nod to Empower. But where it falls short, if we go to investments, you can track investments, and they've kind of created a couple of small accounts for this demo. You can look at your portfolio overall, your balances, your performance, and your transactions. That's great. But what you can't do is really drill down into asset allocation. You can't drill down into investing fee analysis. So with this, I'd have to, Empower's the better tool. And then it does have A retirement planning tool, basically, I would say this is sort of a retirement calculator. And if you're using Simplifi, maybe this is all you need, particularly if you're years away from retirement. But Empower's retirement planner is much, much better than this, in my view. By the way, just Simplifi is an affiliate too, just to be clear, where I make a fee if you get this at no cost to you. But just like Empower, they're not a sponsor of the channel. They're not a sponsor of this video. So I'm comparing two affiliates. I just point that out. I don't have a reason to want to favor one or the other. This is just my view of these tools. By the way, if you disagree, maybe you think this is an incredible retirement planner, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. So yeah, Simplifi does technically do all three things. And by the way, it's not very expensive. You get the first year for $2.99. I think it's $5.99 after that per month. So it's relatively inexpensive, but it doesn't do the same things that Empower does. If we go to Monarch, again, by the way, another affiliate, kind of in the same boat. It absolutely crushes on budgeting. I think it's probably one of the best budgeting tools out there. But in terms of investing, basically the same thing we just talked about with Simplifi. It doesn't do asset allocation. You'll see, well, wait a minute, Rob, there's a word here that says allocation. It does, but you can see it just lumps mutual funds, and that the same would be true with ETFs. It doesn't sort of X-ray, that's a Morningstar term, into that fund and say, okay, it's got X% in stocks and X% in Y% in bonds. It doesn't do that. It doesn't have an investment fee analyzer. And then in terms of retirement, it doesn't really have a retirement planner. You can create a retirement goal, which I did in this demo. And it's useful. It basically just allows you to say, hey, how much do you want ultimately in retirement? How much do you want to set aside each month? And you can sort of track that progress. A perfectly fine tool as goal setting goes, but it's not a retirement planner, and it certainly doesn't compare to what Empower offers. All right. One more. This is Origin, and this is actually my, here we go. This is actually my Robinhood account that I connected to this demo of Origin, and it shows you my investments. In terms of budgeting, Origin is great. I'm not going to focus on that. But in terms of investing, this one comes the closest to Empower. So again, you can see your holdings. It will show you your asset allocation, and I've tested it with balanced mutual funds, and it does see through the fund and shows you your stock and bond allocation. So I think this does a good job. I actually prefer Empower's user interface, but in terms of the budgeting apps that also cover investing, this is the best one I've found to date. And kind of one of the neat things is, among other things, beyond just looking at your asset allocation, you could drill down. So this is Oracle. It'll show you news, gives you information about Oracle. And so I really do like this tool. Now, it doesn't have a retirement planner. Instead, what this does is it will pair you with a CFP. You can do a 30-minute call for $69.30, a 1-hour call for $104.30. So that's sort of their approach to, I guess, retirement planning and just planning generally. And so that may be of interest to you. It does a lot of other interesting things. They'll file a simple tax return for free. Tax software is built in, assisted filing for $189. They'll even do estate planning. They do a free basic will, a more complicated one for a little over $100. They'll do a trust for a little over $300. So they're sort of taking a different approach to the whole financial planning and tool space. And again, when it comes to their investment tracking, I think they're the closest to Empower of the budgeting tools. But they don't have a retirement planner. Again, you can talk to a CFP. Maybe you prefer that. But you can see already, it's really tough to replace Empower if you want a one tool to do it all and to do it all well, putting even aside the fact that Empower is free. So that's sort of the landscape. Now, I will show you one other tool. This is for those folks that really have complicated portfolios, maybe have a lot of individual stocks, managed mutual funds, actively managed funds. I really like StockRover, but it is a complicated tool. I should do a separate video on this tool. This doesn't do budgeting. This doesn't do retirement planning. But it does a lot of great things. I've actually got one of Paul Merriman's portfolios plugged in here. and it will show you your projection of your future dividends. There's a rebalancing tool if you want to try to use it for rebalancing your portfolio, and it gives you just a ton of data, far more information that I want to go into in this video. Yeah, this is a great tool, but again, it's for one thing, managing your investment portfolio. It doesn't do budgeting. It doesn't do retirement planning. So yes, I guess these are alternatives to Empower, but the truth is, I think if you really want to replace Empower, you're probably going to need more than one tool, and it's going to cost you some money. Now, again, I think that's an absolutely reasonable option, and I use other tools. I didn't mention Cubera. That's another tool that I use, which is a great investment tracking tool. I'll leave a link to that below the video as well. So that would be another option. But again, doesn't do budgeting, doesn't do retirement planning. So there you go. If you're having trouble with Empower, or you did have trouble and it's now resolved, leave comments below the video, and I'll reach out to Empower and I'll say, hey, Empower, look at these comments to this video. Can you help these folks out? And we'll try to get these resolved as quickly as we can. So there you go. That's my take on what's going on with Empower. That's my look at alternatives. Again, man, it's tough to find a true alternative to Empower if you're trying to match it up feature for feature and for no cost. But those are some options you can consider. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Happy to help you out any way I can. And until next time, remember, the best thing money can buy is financial freedom.